Imagine if NASA launched a rocket to Mars but never checked its trajectory after it left the atmosphere. No matter how perfect the launch was, a 1 degree shift would send it millions of miles off course. In business, controlling is our navigation system. It's the process that ensures our launch actually hits the target. So we are from tutorial 4 group 5 and we'll be presenting about controlling work and organizational process. So our group's members are Gufran Arhensi, Raudania Putri Rusandi, Malik bin Anas, Diandra Mumtaz Mazaya, Ali Hasif bin Abdullah, Gaz Khalida Effendi, Marvesha Monandi, and Siu Jayi.
In this first part, I will discuss about what is the role of control in management. So, control plays an important role in management because it helps manager determine whether an organizational goals and plans have been successfully achieved. Through control, managers can compare actual performance with planned targets, identify any deviations, and decide what corrective action are needed. In simple terms, control means continuously monitoring activities to ensure they are carried out as planned and making corrections whenever significant problem or difference occur. This process helps organizations stay on track and improve future performance. And the next one is 4 methods managers can use to measure performance. Managers generally use 4 main methods to measure and obtain information about actual work performance. In practice, these methods are often combined to give a more complete picture, since each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. First, personal observation, also known as management by walking around, involves managers directly observing employees at work. This method provides real-time and unfiltered information, including employee attitudes and morale. However, it can be time-consuming and may be seen as micromanagement if not handled carefully. And the second one, statistical reports, use numerical data such as sales figures, production output, and satisfaction scores. These reports are useful for tracking trends and measuring performance objectively, but they often ignore qualitative factors like effort, teamwork, or customer relationship. And the third one, oral reports, are obtained through meetings, discussion, or phone calls. They allow immediate feedback and clarification, but the information may be biased and is usually not formally recorded. Finally, written reports include formal documents such as progress report and evaluations. They provide detailed and permanent records, but they require significant time to prepare and review, which can slow decision making.
Good afternoon. My name is Raudania Putri Rusandi and I'll be presenting question 14.3 and 14.4. So for question 14.3, we are looking at why planning and controlling are often called opposite sides of the coin. As you can see on the slide, the statement is true because controlling provides a critical link back to planning. Think of it as a continuous loop. Planning sets the goals and standard, but without controlling, we have no way of knowing if those goals are actually being met. This relationship exists at every level of organization, just at different scales. So first, at the top level, executives plan long-term corporate strategy. They use broad controls like financial audits or market share data to ensure the entire company is moving in the right direction. At the second level, which is at the middle or lower levels, managers focus on specific departmental tasks. Their controls are more day-to-day, such as performance review or daily outputs reports, to ensure the specific teams are hitting their targets. Next, question 14.4. Let's break down the 3 types of control managers use to keep operation on track. The main difference between these is timing, specifically when the control action happens in relation to the work activity. So, the first type is feed-forward control. This is the most desirable type because it is proactive. It happens before an activity starts to anticipate and prevent problems. A great example is an airline performing preventive maintenance on a plane before it ever takes off to ensure passenger safety. Second one is concurrent control. This takes place when the activity is in progress. It allows managers to correct problems in real time before they become too expensive. The best example here is management by walking around, where a manager is physically present on the floor, interacting with employees, and observing the work as it happens. Finally, the last one, we have feedback control. This occurs after the activity is finished. While the damage might already be done, it is still valuable because it provides meaningful data for future planning. An example is restaurant managers reviewing customer survey at the end of the month to identify service gaps.
Next for question 5. So feedback control can be a disadvantage because it takes place after an activity has been complete. So problems are often identified too late to prevent losses. By the time errors are detected, resources may already be wasted, costs increase, and customer may be dissatisfied. Also, managers can only correct future performance, not fix past mistakes, which makes the feedback control more reactive than preventive. Next for the 10-point summary for the case application 1. So Chipotle's missions to offer healthy fast food using fresh, locally sourced ingredients and raised meats became increasingly difficult as the company scaled to more than 2,200 locations, ultimately contributing to food safety challenges that led to E. coli, norovirus, and salmonella outbreaks, affecting over 500 customers across multiple states. Next, the food safety crisis had a major business impact. Sales fell by 30%, stores temporarily closed, and also the lawsuits were filed and the stock value declined, largely because Chipotle's complex structure, which rely on local sourcing and in-store preparation, increase the risk and make quality harder to control rather than resulting from deliberate negligence. In response, Chipotle's implemented new controls such as comprehensive meat testing, revised food handling procedures, and also centralized some food preparations and reduced the number of vendors to simplify oversight, and temporarily closed stores to restrain employees on enhanced food safety standards.
My name is Dea, and now I'm going to be presenting about question 1411 and 1412. Let's start with 1411 first. Why is it important for Chipotle to revise the company's food handling and food supply standards? There's a couple answers to this. First is to prevent reoccurrence. After Chipotle's food contamination problems, the priority wasn't just to fix the problem, it was to make sure that it could never happen again. Strong food handling and supply standards prevent the contamination before it reaches the customer. Second is to restore customer trust. Trust is earned through action, not words. After losing that trust, Chipotle couldn't just say that they were safe again. They had to prove it. Consistent and visible safety controls are the only way to rebuild trust with the consumer and investors. And third is to guarantee operational integrity. Scaling fresh food model like Chipotle's is risky. It needs to be controlled, repeatable, and a safe process to be viable long term. And finally is to align the brand promise with reality. Food with integrity is a great brand promise, but this statement must be supported by integrity in its system. Without this, the brand promise is just empty words. Now, let's move on to question 1412. Which controls would be more important to Chipotle? Feed-forward, concurrent, or feedback? Explain, and why is this level of managerial controls necessary for Chipotle? The answer is feed-forward. Why feed forward? Because first, feed forward prevents problem at the source, like vetting suppliers and training staff before food enters the kitchen. Second, it's the most effective type of control for food safety, because once food is contaminated and served, the damage is done and you can't take it back. And third, it simply lowers risk and cost. Preventing a crisis early is always cheaper and more reliable than reacting to one. Now, why is this level of control so necessary for Chipotle? Well, it's because their entire business model, with local sourcing and in-store prep, creates a complex supply chain with higher risk. More moving parts mean more chances for something to go wrong. That's why a strong prevention-first control system is essential.
Next, let's look at question 1413. How can Chipotle make sure that employees actually follow the new food handling rules? The core challenge is that these strict standards only work if every single worker follows them perfectly. First, we have comprehensive training. Chipotle needs to move away from one-time training. They actually close all their stores for an afternoon just to train everyone at the same time. Second, managers should implement concurrent controls. This means managers watching the kitchen in real time to fix any mistakes the moment they see them. Third, standardized audits and checklists. Stores should use digital or physical checklists to track food temperatures and hygiene at specific times throughout the day. Lastly, incentive and accountability. Performance reviews and bonuses should be linked to safety scores. We need a zero-tolerance culture where nobody cuts corners just to move faster. Next, let's take a look at question 1414. As per the statement, the more basic the food chain, the easier it is to control. Is there any managerial advice on control here? Explain. For the first part of the question, what does the statement mean? Complexity versus control. Chipotle used to have a very complex system with hundreds of local vendors and all the chopping and dicing done in store. This created a complex chain that had many points of failure. Reducing variables. A basic food chain uses fewer, larger vendors and prepares food in central locations. The logic. Think about it. If food is prepped in one high-tech central kitchen, you only have to keep one place perfectly clean. If you prep food in 2,200 separate restaurants, you have 2,000 chances for a mistake to happen. For the next part of the question, what is the managerial advice here? Avoid over-complexity. Managers need to realize that while fresh and local is a great marketing tool, it can create a feed-forward control nightmare. Meaning, it could be a nightmare for safety. Every new vendor adds a new risk that must be vetted. Centralize high-risk activities. Chipotle's move to do high-risk prep in central kitchen is a good managerial advice. It creates a bit of that local feel for much higher safety. Standardization is key. In a big national chain, you can't leave integrity out to individual interpretation. Managers must enforce strict standardized procedures everywhere so there is no local variation in safety.
Hi, I'm Khalida. So now I'll be presenting question 15 from case application 1, which is what roles do social responsibility and ethical behavior play in ensuring that controls are appropriate and working. So firstly, ensuring customer safety. Companies like Chipotle must put customer health and food safety before profit. Ethical behavior involves taking proactive steps to prevent contamination and protect the public rather than reacting when only something goes wrong. And secondly is building appropriate controls. So ethical management ensures that food safety controls such as hygiene standards, regular testing, and supply checks are properly designed, consistently followed, and not ignored just to save time or money. And thirdly is transparency and accountability. So acting ethically means being honest when problems occur, responding quickly to food safety issues, and accepting responsibility instead of covering mistakes up. And another important role is restoring trust and reputation. So after a crisis, socially responsible and ethical behavior helps rebuild customer confidence by showing the company genuinely cares about consumers. And finally, long-term business sustainability. So this encourages continuous monitoring and improvement of controls, which helps prevent future crises and supports long-term success. So overall, social responsibility and ethical behavior guide how controls are designed, enforced, and improved, ensuring they truly protect customers and business. So now I'll be presenting case application 2, which is if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So the topic is employee performance control. So from case application 2, we learned that controlling employee performance is an important responsibility of managers to ensure organizational goals are achieved effectively. And traditionally, performance reviews focus on identifying mistakes and areas where employees needed improvement. But recently, many organizations have shifted towards a more positive feedback approach to performance management. So this shift aims to motivate employees, reduce stress, and prevent negative reactions such as dissatisfaction or turnover after harsh reviews. So now we'll be comparing two different companies from case application 2, which is Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and Netflix. So these two companies uses different approach, and there are 4 aspects we're going to focus on. So number 1 is feedback style. So BCG focuses mainly on positive feedback. However, Netflix, they use tough love approach, which uses direct and honest feedback, including negative feedback. So another aspect is performance reviews. So BCG emphasizes employee strengths and small achievements. However, Netflix emphasizes results and meeting high performance standards. And next aspect is motivation method. So motivation method used by BCG is praises, recognition, rewards, and encouragement. However, Netflix focuses on accountability and performance pressure. And another aspect that we focus on is the outcome focus. So BCG focuses on employee morale and retention, and Netflix, the outcome is high performance and productivity.
Hello everyone, I'm Marisha. So now we'll look at the next question. Is controlling employee performance an important responsibility of managers? The short answer is yes. As the case highlights, managers are vital for ensuring employees work toward established goals. This control is not optional, it's a core function that links planning to execution, ensuring work stays on track and resources are used effectively. Now, why exactly is it so important? Performance control creates accountability. It allows managers to identify training needs, support skill development, and recognize achievements fairly. Without it, teams can lose direction, goals can be missed, and improvement becomes reactive rather than proactive. In short, it turns plans into measurable results. Now we'll move to the next question. Should managers focus only on positive feedbacks? The case shows companies like Boston Consulting Group and PwC emphasizing positivity, celebrating wins, and focusing on future careers. While this boosts morale, focusing solely on praise is incomplete. Employees also need to know where and how they can improve to grow professionally. Now we'll look on to what are the risks of only positive feedbacks. Employees may remain unaware of performance gaps, which can affect quality and team success. Netflix's tough love approach reminds us that high standards often require candid feedback. The key takeaway is balance, encouraging with positivity, but don't avoid constructive guidance, essential for development. In conclusion, performance control is essential for achieving goals. Positive feedbacks motivates, but constructive input drives improvement. A balanced approach supports both employee morale and continuous growth.
My name is Sujay and I would like to present for question 1418 and 1419. For the first question, which is 1418, what are the risks associated with providing employees only positive feedback and providing limited feedback on areas of improvement? Firstly, lack of self-awareness. Employees may not realize their weakness or mistakes, and without constructive criticism, they will assume their performance is already optimal, and even when improvement is necessary for them. Next, stagnation in skill development. Growth often comes from understanding errors and learning how to correct them. When weaknesses are not clearly addressed, employees may fail to develop critical skills needed for long-term success, and it will limit their professional growth and affect a team or company performance. Besides from that, unaddressed performance is one of the important issues. So, performance that could affect team or the company performance may persist because they are not being openly discussed. Lastly, for potential for higher turnover later, if employees eventually receive a negative feedback unexpectedly, for example during a critical project review or from a client, they will feel like blindsided and become dissatisfied. And this kind of negative feedback may feel leading to inefficiency or loss of confidence. In conclusion, while positive feedback boosts their morale, overemphasis on positively can hinder honestly and growth and long-term performance. And next, I will talk about question 1419, which is where would you be more comfortable? An organization with a performance reviews approach, more like the Boston Consulting Group or more like Netflix, and make a list of the pros and cons of both approaches before you make a choice. What career advice could you take away from this? And now, I will first talk about Boston Consulting Group approach. For the pros, encourages confidence and morale, creates a supportive and motivative work environment, emphasizes further growth and career path within the company, may increase loyalty and reduce short-term turnover, and helps retain employees who value encouragement and work-life balance. Next, for the cons of Boston Consulting Group, it may lack honest, actionable, critical, could slow down improvement in weak areas, risk of feedback being seen as too soft if not balanced, less pressure may reduce competitiveness. For our Netflix approach, the pros, which is clear and high performance expectation. High performers know that they are valued and low performers are addressed directly. Encourages excellent accountability and professionalism. Fast-paced improvement driven by enhanced assessments and suitable for highly competitive and ambitious individuals. For the cons of Netflix, it can create a high stress and pressure environment, risk of discouraging employees who need more developmental support, may lead to higher turnover or those who are not meet the high bar, and fear of failure may reduce creativity or psychological safety. I would like to say that I will be more comfortable in the environment like Boston Consulting Group if it still includes balance and constructive feedback on areas of improvement. This is because it balances encouragement with growth, and a purely top-love approach like Netflix might be effective for certain industries, but it can risk burnout and reduce collaboration. That's all from our group.